Mount Rushmore in South Dakota has become an iconic piece of the American landscape. The 60-foot sculptures of Presidents Washington, Jefferson, Teddy Roosevelt, and Abraham Lincoln receives millions of visitors annually and is known worldwide. It's a landmark as quintessential to the United States as the Statue of Liberty, but in the eyes of its artist, it would be considered unfinished in its current state today. The carving took place over a period of 14 years, from 1927 to 1941, with sculptor Gutzon Borglum leading the project. Progress was gradual, with Washington being the first figure to begin carving and Jefferson started next. He was originally planned to be positioned on Washington's right, and 2 years of work were put into the figure, but it was eventually discovered that the rock was badly cracked. So Borglum ordered the partially completed Jefferson to be dynamited away in 1933 and instead moved to behind Washington's left shoulder. In the latter half of the 1930s, there was a considerable push to have suffragette and social reformer Susan B. Anthony added as the fifth figure, an idea that was endorsed by none other than the First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt. In 1937, Congress put forward a bill to fund the addition of the famous women's advocate, but it had to back out of the plan. With the country still in the depths of the Great Depression, Congress decided to focus on funneling money into the finishing of the four existing heads. Bulgram's original design also included not just the heads of the four presidents, but much of their upper bodies as well. To the right of the four presidents, Bulgram also planned to have a large section called the entablature, shaped like the Louisiana Territory as it was at the time of its purchase by the U.S. in 1803. On it would be a list of 9 dates, each one a key year in America's development or territorial expansion. Starting, of course, in 1776, and also including, among other dates, those marking the writing of the Constitution, Texas's entry into the Union, the purchase of Alaska, all the way up until 1906, marking the completion and acquisition of the Panama Canal. Plans for the entablature had to be moved several times as the final locations of the presidents were decided, and the year 1776 was even carved into the rock, but as spacing and budgeting concerns became more apparent, these numbers were blasted away and the plans were eventually scrapped altogether. Gutzon Borglum died in March 1941 following complications related to surgery, and his son Lincoln Borglum took over for the project. 8 months later, in October, he declared the sculpture done. Much of his father's vision had yet to be completed, and signs of the partial completion are visible today, such as the lapels on Washington's jacket, indicating the start of the unfinished chest and torso portion, while Lincoln, the last profile to have work done on it, is still missing his left ear. However, one aspect of Gutzon Bulgram's grander vision for the project was eventually completed long after his death, at least to an extent. He had envisioned a hall of records located in a chamber behind the carvings of the four presidents, which would house the nation's most important documents, including the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, for the visiting public to see. About 70 feet of the chamber was drilled in a rough cut before the carving was deemed complete in 1941, and it was never finished. But in 1998, at the behest of Bulgram's family, the chamber was finally able to fulfill a purpose. 16 porcelain enamel panels were made with descriptions of the mountain's carving history, as well as copies of the text from the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. The panels were placed in a titanium vault and sealed with a granite capstone. The Hall of Records is not open to the public today, and it's missing the ornate entryway envisioned by Bulgram, but it carries on the spirit of what he had intended for the unfinished chamber.